What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming, and well, it's unfortunately that time of year we have to sit down and look at the Game Awards again. Now, the Game Awards aren't going to be on until, as you can see it in front of us here, the 10th. I almost said the 12th of the 10th because, well, we do dates the proper ways, but the actual awards themselves are going to be on the 10th of December. Now, I don't particularly care about all of that because I'm not going to watch the show. I'm just going to read the recap of it 5 minutes after. But for some reason, people listen to the Mr. Doritos Gate, and it's just absolute madness. You know what? I need to accept these cookies because I haven't even been to this website before. So what we're going to do is we're going to look through all the different sections, all the different categories, all the different nominations, who I think should win it, and who will probably win it. Anyway, we're not going to do a follow-up on this because I don't care that much, but it's fun to talk about in this way. So let's get started with our nominees. I heavily expect The Last of Us Part 2 to win pretty much everything. I mean, last year he specifically went out of his way to not give Kojima all the awards just because it was so obvious. Anyway, so we have the 2020 nominees. We'll start scrolling now. This is the very first time I'm seeing any of these here now. And the categories, all this stuff. So Game of the Year. We have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, what do I think should win this game? Well, honestly, I think probably Animal Crossing should win this game. I know that's going to be really weird for everyone, everyone out there. It's like, Q, what are you talking about? Yeah, you get the idea. But overall, I could see Final Fantasy VII Remake potentially winning it. I could see. I don't agree with that winning it, of course. I could see Ghost of Tsushima having a legitimate chance at winning it. But overall, I would say this one is going to go to The Last of Us Part 2 because everyone is a shill for that awful game that's terrible in pretty much every way. But, it's not cool to not like that. So these are Mr. Mainstream. Best Game Direction. Again, what do we have here? Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the biased fanboy in me wants to say Half-Life Alyx, but you know what? I've never played it. So I can't honestly even suggest that. I will be playing it very, very shortly. My new computer is in the process of being built, and I have to pick up a Valve Index so I can power a Valve Index Half-Life Alyx the best way it can be on a 3080. It's gonna be fantastic. Potentially, maybe even a 6900 XT, but I doubt it based on what we've seen today with the 6800 stuff. Anyway, what do I think should win this? Honestly, from everything I've seen, even though I haven't played, I've only played 2 games on this list. Even though I haven't played any of them, what I have seen for all of them, I think Ghost of Tsushima would be a likely candidate to maybe should win this. But The Last of Us Part 2 is going to win this because everyone is a tool. We got Best Narrative. We have 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. Again, I can't really talk about this one properly. The only 2 games I've played on this list are Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us Part 2, both of which technically had shite narratives. Although I suppose in a way, when you think Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm kind of judging that one based on the change. What was changed from original and the big change in relation to the ending. And that's a bit of a problem. So, yeah. But I don't know. Best narrative, I could possibly say Ghost of Tsushima again. But The Last of Us is going to win this because everyone is a fucking tool. Best art direction. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, or The Last of Us Part 2. Now, this is strange. This is because this is an artistic design choice. I, again, have played 1 game on this list. But I could see this going 4 different ways. I could understand them picking Ghost of Tsushima because just like it's a very stylized world in how they portray it from everything I've seen. Hades is obviously not a 3D realistic looking game. It's completely artistic in that way. And the same with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And Ori has been one of those games that is very, very much praised for its excellent visuals in that style. I mean, I played the first one, Ori and the Blind Forest, and the the art style, the graphics, the visuals, the way they did it, the effects, everything was gorgeous. And I'm sure Ori and the Will of the Wisps is even more of that, and then cranked up to 11. I don't think The Last of Us Part 2 should win this at all, because best art direction, it's just basic art in this case. It's just basic Ruin City. Now, you can have high quality assets and high quality concept art and all as well, but it's very basic. The other three games, I mean, you could even include Final Fantasy VII Remake a little bit if you wanted, but the other three games are more significant in what they do. So overall, I could see potentially every game except for Final Fantasy VII winning this. But then again, at the same time, Final Fantasy VII does have some amazing concept art in a completely non-realistic way. And I don't know, this is strange. Overall, I think, even though I haven't played it, I think Ori and the Will of the Wisps should win this. What I do think will win this will be... It'll be a 35-30 split. I think there's a very, very real possibility Hades or Ori and the Will of the Wisps will win this. And then a 30% chance that The Last of Us Part 2 will win this. But watch The Last of Us Part 2 win this because everyone is a fucking shill for that awful game. The best score and music: Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I'm going to say this right here as well. I have not obviously heard Hades music. I have not heard Ori and the Will of the Wisps music. If the first Ori game is anything to go by, the music is going to be great. The music will be fantastic and very immersive. The Last of Us Part 2 does not deserve this in any way, shape, or form. I cannot remember any type of music at all from that game. I have a lot of stuff that stuck with me from The Last of Us 1, the original one. A lot of that music was more memorable. But in The Last of Us Part 2, you could show me 20 songs and say like 15 of these are from The Last of Us Part 2 and 5 of them are from random post-apocalyptic same styles. I could not pick one out at all. It's just so bland and left over in that. It's just so generic in that way. Now, what else do we have? Hades, I don't know the music at all. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is an interesting one, simply because with Final Fantasy VII Remake, the original Final Fantasy VII had an amazing score, and it's legendary. It's legendary even still to this day. And on top of that, you have all the new remade, remixed, re-recorded, re-everything when it comes to that. And of course, Doom Eternal has amazing music as well, because it's more of what you expect from Doom, cranked up to 11 and then cranked up even more. So overall, I could see Final Fantasy VII Remake winning this. What I think should win it will be a 50-50 tie between Doom Eternal and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Fuck The Last of Us Part 2. That will probably win it just because everyone's a shill for that game. Best audio design. Again, here we have another one as well. We have Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and The Last of Us Part 2. I'm just going to say straight off, The Last of Us Part 2 had nothing special in audio design. It's that simple. There is nothing special in audio design for that game. It's ridiculous why this is even on this list. There's nothing special about it whatsoever. Resident Evil 3 also feels kind of the same in that regard. I want to go with Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, and Ghost of Tsushima. Doom Eternal had a great variety of sound effects. It had a great design and a great feel of audio. No matter what way you're doing it, no matter if it's a gun, if it's movement, if it's enemies, whatever it is, just anything to do with the environment. Everything sounded good. Everything felt good. Everything was believable. I would love to say the same about Half-Life Alyx, but I just haven't played it. And Ghost of Tsushima, I'm not sure, but I hear amazing things about some of the sound design in that game. Specifically, it relates to the wind. But for this one, I'm going to pick Doom Eternal. It's really... I mean, I've played Resident Evil 3, but again, it's nothing seemingly special in that department. I am going to go with Doom Eternal as what I think should win it, but The Last of Us Part 2 will probably win it because Jeff Keighley is a massive shill. And I mean, I would say he'd blow Kojima, but I mean, Kojima doesn't even have anything to do with the game. Best performance awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. We have Ashley Johnson as Ellie. We have Laura Bailey as Abby. Daisuke Tsuji as Jin Sakai. Logan Cunningham as Hades. And Naji Jeter as Miles Morales. Now, I haven't played Miles Morales. I don't know anything about it. Hades. I don't know anything about it. The little small bit I've seen of Ghost of Tsushima wasn't anything particular. Ashley Johnson felt like she was phoning it in for a lot of The Last of Us Part 2. Laura Bailey, as much as I love her, was a terrible Abby. Now, well, I shouldn't say she was a terrible Abby. Let me rephrase that, okay? She did the best with what she was given. However, she was given shit. So that's the problem. Laura Bailey is a great actress. She's a great voice actress. She's also gorgeous. And she's really good in many of her roles. I love her in many of her roles. However, she's very talented. She's really good. But the stuff she had to work with as Abby was abysmal. I'm abstaining from this one. Just because. No, you know what? That's not fair. That's not fair. What am I going with here? Okay. I'm gonna go with Hades. Just because I think I detest that game so much that it doesn't deserve anything. It just doesn't deserve anything at all. Last of Us Part 2, that is. So I'm voting Hades on this one. Now, what do I think will win it? Well, it will be Ashley Johnson as Ellie, because of course it will. Games for impact. For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. If found, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Spiritfarer, Tell Me Why, and Through the Darkest of Times. Now, I don't know anything about any of these games except for Tell Me Why, but I haven't played it. I was originally waiting for all 3 episodes to come out, even though they all did come out, but by then, I just kind of didn't care at the time. I wasn't really ready to play the game, and I just still haven't got around to it. So, I'm just going to have to guess off this. Based on... Given the fact that I only know Tell Me Why, based on that information and what I know about this, and the whole political, social construct climate that we live in these days, because of the message that's included in that and the story about the characters, the little bit of it that I do know, I'm voting... I wouldn't say I'm voting, but I suspect Tell Me Why will win. The reason why I'm not voting for it is because I haven't played any of these games and I know practically nothing about any of them. In fact, I know nothing about 4 of them. I only know a tiny little bit about Tell Me Why. And that's like... I know one thing about it. And that's what makes me think that's going to win. Best ongoing game. Awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. Now, all of this is trash. All of this is trash. Now, of course, unfortunately, it is the popular casual stuff. But from what I understand, I don't play any of these games, by the way. So, what I understand about all of this, I think probably No Man's Sky will win this. I can't vote on any of these because I haven't played any of them. But I think No Man's Sky is going to be the winner here. Simply because you have games like Fortnite, you have games like Call of Duty Warzone, Destiny 2, Apex Legends. They keep updating constantly and consistently. In fact, Destiny 2 doesn't. I believe that only kind of does proper upgrades like once a year with the new DLCs and expansions, or maybe like twice or 3 times a year, something like that. But it's broken into major update kind of things. Whereas Apex, Call of Duty, and Fortnite get fairly consistent updates. It feels like I see news about them having new updates and stuff every 2 weeks or so, maybe even less. But with No Man's Sky, the updates have been fairly sparse, but fairly significant from what I understand. In fact, that game, remember, there was a time when that game was ruined, and everyone involved with that game was ruined. From what I understand now, it's now a very popular game, and it's an actual quality game, and people enjoy it. So I'm going to say No Man's Sky will probably win this one. I can't vote for it, but you get the idea. Best Indie Game. For outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. We have Carry On, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer. Now, I don't know anything about Spiritfarer. I know practically nothing about Spelunky 2. I know practically nothing about Hades. Well, we've all heard of Fall Guys at this point, and I know very, very little about Carry On either. Now, I'm going to go and assume that Fall Guys is going to win this one, because usually when you have indie darlings, like indie games that come out and get real big, real popular. You have stuff like Stardew Valley. You have Undertale, stuff like that. They're the indie darlings. Spelunky 1, as far as I know, is even an indie darling in that regard. And yeah, we obviously have Spelunky 2 here. But Fall Guys took the world by storm. Fall Guys is Rocket League. So typically, if it can hook in millions and millions of people. In fact, Fall Guys just announced I can't remember the name. Oh, what's the name of the developer? Mediatonic. Mediatonic just announced a few days ago that they've already sold 10 million copies on Steam. And I'm sure they've sold millions and millions of copies on PlayStation as well. So the fact that they've been able to hook in that many people, just that will kind of give them that award. I mean, you look at the sales of Carry On, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer, combine them all together, they probably don't even do Fall Guys on one platform. And while I don't think that's the proper metric to go for, and that's what it seems to be for this kind of stuff. Because if it can hook in that many people, it's typically considered enough to be appealing to the masses, if you will. Best mobile game. For the best playable game on a mobile device. I didn't know Among Us was on phones. Anyway, Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, never heard of it, or Pokemon Cafe Mix. Now, I haven't played any of these games. In fact, one of them I've never even heard of. One of them I didn't even know was on phones. But how do I think this one is going to go? Well, I'm pretty sure Among Us is going to win this, but I could also see Genshin Impact going to win this. That's been kind of taking the world by storm a bit lately. But I also do feel like it's a bit disingenuous to put Among Us on here. Because I believe Among Us has been out for like 2 years, but it's only become popular very recently because of, I don't know, streamers or... what even made it popular, actually? But you get the idea. It's only become popular. But, I mean, who knows, maybe the mobile port only came out recently. But as far as I know, the game has been out for like 2 years or so. It's just no one cared about it until recently. So I could see Among Us winning this, but also I could see Genshin Impact winning. Best community support. Recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fall Guys, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and Valorant. Now, this one is a little bit different because compared to... This is community support, not just constant, consistent updates and all as well. And realistically, I would have to probably say that I would imagine either Fortnite or Fall Guys would win this. Because, I mean, I use Twitter. I don't see anything from Fortnite, from Epic Games. I don't see that kind of stuff being posted and retweeted and all that stuff. If I do, it's very, 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 very infrequently. But I see it on websites a lot. Websites are promoting the new upcoming update or the new crossover or whatever it is. But even when I'm scrolling through the video game section on Twitter, I see Fall Guys stuff from actual Fall Guys as well as other people and all. So they do seem to, and they're not just promoting their new updates and all as well. They do have a lot of community interaction and player-based interaction. So that's why I'm going to go with Fall Guys on this one. I think they'll probably win it, to be honest, but you get the idea. Best VR or AR game. For the best experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. Dreams, Half-Life Alyx, Marvel's Iron Man VR, Star Wars Squadrons, or The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Now, this is a very curious one here, because I want to say, first off, I haven't played any of these games. I haven't played any of these 5 games. I want to say Half-Life Alyx, because from everything I know that's gone into it, and the detail, and just how much of a technical achievement and all it is, I would vote for Half-Life Alyx. But I could easily see Dreams winning this, because Half-Life Alyx, you have, from the, we'll call it first-person shooter, VR technical aspect. Dreams is different in that way. Dreams is basically the creation tool, and sure, you can do some crazy stuff in it, and you can actually build levels and build games, and people can play them and stuff as well. So it goes a bit beyond the standard playable definition of what a game is. If this was just best normal VR or AR game, there would be no doubt whatsoever it would be Half-Life Alyx. But because it's just best game experience playable, and see, there's the key one there, experience, I could imagine Dreams would probably win this one. Innovation in accessibility. Now, I'm not even going to read this, because I know that this one was created specifically for The Last of Us Part 2. You can go back months ago, and Jeff Keighley even said, because of the whole big push behind The Last of Us Part 2 and its accessibility options, that they had to create a new, a new category just for The Last of Us Part 2, which is the innovation and accessibility. There's no point me going through this. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Grounded, Hyperroot, The Last of Us Part 2, and Watch Dogs Legion. The Last of Us Part 2 is going to win this. I'm not going to talk anything about accessibility or whatever it is. It's just a guarantee, because they've already telegraphed it in advance. When you're praising a game for a specific thing, and then you come out and say, well, now we have to create a new category just for that game, and you specifically mention that game, yeah, it's you've kind of given it away a bit early. Best action game, for the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. Also, by the way, accessibility is a good thing, I'm just saying. We have Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and Nioh 2, and Streets of Rage 4. Doom Eternal should win this completely, because you can have smaller, less varied combat in a sense, like, say, I don't know, I just was playing Persona 5 Royal earlier today. Oh, well, that's a bad example. Persona 5 Royal is actually a really, really in-depth combat system. But you can have games that don't have the biggest and most varied combat system, but it can be done really well. It can be best to play, which is the fun side of it. Whereas you can have games with millions and millions and millions of different combat mechanics and styles and all as well, but then it's not fun or enjoyable or intuitive to play. So you can have a bit of a problem there. Again, I would also love to put Half-Life Alyx in there, but I haven't played it. Nioh 2 isn't my type of game, and Streets of Rage 4, while I enjoy it and I did play it several times, it's just not enough to win this kind of award. It was a fun game, it was good gameplay, but Doom Eternal, for me, I would vote Doom Eternal, and I think Doom Eternal will win this one easily. Best action/adventure. For the best action-adventure game, combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Well, that's funny, because out of 2 of the 3 qualifiers of this, The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't actually fit, but you get the idea. So, we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, a lot of this, 4 of these games, no, you know what, 3 of these games I would consider viable contenders. Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel Spider-Man, although technically maybe that shouldn't win it, because it's just copy and paste of the game from 2 years ago in the traversal aspect of it. So, maybe it's 2 of them. Ghost of Tsushima and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, because traversal in that game is gorgeous and it's probably going to be a lot of fun. But of course, out of all of this, what I would vote for would probably be Ori, because Ghost of Tsushima, from what I've seen, is just a lot of running around and riding around open worlds. Empty open worlds. It's just feels and feels and feels. It might look nice. It might feel immersive. But Metal Gear Solid 5 taught us that a dead, open, empty world is just the worst thing ever. And it really detracts from it. So I think Ori should probably win this. But The Last of Us Part 2 is going to win this because fuck Doritos Gate. Best role-playing game. I'm going to be very biased here. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. So let's go, starting from the left here, shall we? Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was a good game for about 80% of it. And then it went from being a good game to being... The last chapter and a half went down to some of the worst trash I'd ever played in a game. And it appalls me that it was redone and remade and has the Final Fantasy VII legacy tarnished in this way now. Of course, it doesn't tarnish the original game, but it tarnishes the legacy of Final Fantasy VII. So I will not be voting for Final Fantasy VII. Genshin Impact, I've never played. It looks like a better version of, what do we call it? Weeb Zelda. But it looks significantly visually more impressive and more deep than Weeb Zelda, or than regular Zelda. We've got Wasteland 3, a game I have not played. I can't say I enjoyed the previous entries because I still haven't properly got around to playing them, but I do like the idea and look of them, especially based on who they're made by and the fact that it's basically they moved into Wasteland because they couldn't work on Fallout anymore. So yeah, it's old school Fallout kind of style, which I like. Yakuza Like a Dragon, I haven't played. I've seen a little bit of someone play it, but it seems good. It seems solid enough from the mechanics and combat side of it. However, I will not be voting for Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon. What I will be voting for is Persona 5 Royal, because I finished Persona 5 Royal about 3 or 4 hours ago. Probably not even that long. Actually, looking at the time, I finished it just under 2 hours ago. So yeah, I will be voting for Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5, and by extension Persona 5 Royal, is one of the greatest games I've ever played. It's one of the greatest JRPGs I've ever played. I put it up in the top 10, as I've already discussed before. Persona 5 Royal wins this category. And honestly, I could see it going 50-50 between Final Fantasy VII Remake and Persona 5 Royal. While I would vote for Persona 5, I do think Final Fantasy VII will win this ever so slightly. Best fighting game. We have Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows, and Under Night in Birth EXE Late CL-R. I know practically nothing about any of these games except for Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but based on what I've heard publicly from all this stuff, I think Mortal Kombat is going to win this one. I can't vote for any of them because it wouldn't be fair. Best family game. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. I'm just looking at the counter on the side. It looks like we are a little bit over halfway through this list. So we've got Animal Crossing New Horizons, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, or Paper Mario The Origami King. Honestly, this one is a pretty easy one to pick. I think Animal Crossing New Horizons will win this one, and I would vote for that as well. Not just because it's the only of 6 games on this list that I have played, but I just think when I see all these games and what I know about them, I would vote for Animal Crossing. I think that deserves to win it, and Animal Crossing will pretty much win it. The best sim or strategy game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. Crusader Kings 3, Desperados 3, Gears Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and Xbox XCOM Chimera Squad. Now, I've only played one game in this list, Gears Tactics. It was a very good game, it was very enjoyable. It felt like a slightly XCOM for beginners almost. It was... Now, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but XCOM is really good. Chimera Squad is a little bit different in how it should be treated. I would vote for Gears Tactics, but with how it's kind of taken the world by storm, even the fact that it's not even a proper game, I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to win this. Best sports or racing game. For best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing games. Dirt 5, F1 2020, FIFA 21, NBA 2K21, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Now, I'm very biased in this one because I don't play sports games and I've only played one game on this list, which is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. And honestly, I think that should win it. Not just because it's the only one I play, but let's look at it this way. Dirt 5 is more of the same. It's the same thing we've had again. Sure, it's got prettier visuals. Sure, it's got higher resolution. Sure, it's got better frame rate now. But it's the same type of thing. Same with FIFA, F1, NBA. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is technically a remake of two original games, but it's a quality remake done properly. And nowadays, how often do you have something like a skateboard game? Very, very infrequent. And the fact that it was so well received and so beloved that I would vote for that. In fact, I am voting for that. And I think that will win it. Best multiplayer. For outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Animal Crossing New Horizons, Among Us, Call of Duty Warzone, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, or Valorant. Now, this one, to me, could go three different ways. Animal Crossing New Horizons, Among Us, or Fall Guys. Now, I've only played one of these games, as I mentioned, which is Animal Crossing. I wouldn't vote for that, to be honest. It's not a very... While the experience, it does promote multiplayer, it's not a very big or crazy or in-depth multiplayer aspect. Among Us and Fall Guys are just multiplayer games standard. So you can look at it this way. Fall Guys is very... It's team, as far as I know, it's heavily team-based. I think there are individual modes and all as well. But it gives variety in that way. And especially when... Because of the variety, when you're playing in the team mode, you have to worry about, maybe not communication, but you have to worry about teamwork and all as well. Kind of like Among Us in that way, because you have to use, I guess you could call it, social skills and judgment and observation and stuff like that as well. So, I think Among Us would win this. And based on what I know about these games, I would vote for Among Us. Content Creator of the Year. Of course, it's only your boy Q here that's going to win this one, and this is the only one that matters. But we've got, oh god, Elena Pierce, Jayan Lopez, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, and Valkyrie. I actually like that name, Valkyrie. I suppose it could be like Valkyrie, but it looks like it would be pronounced Valkyrie. I don't really know any of these people. I have heard of their name, of one of them once, and I completely do not respect that person in their job. So, I mean, I pretty much gave that one away at the start. But yeah, I'm skipping this one. Best debut game. For the best debut game created by an independent studio. Carrion, Mortal Shell, Raji, an Ancient Epic, Roki, it's probably pronounced differently because it's got the two dots above the O, or Phasmophobia. I think Mortal Shell will probably win this one because everyone is a shill and a mark for Dark Souls clones, but I only know a little bit about three of these games, and from what I do understand, I would probably think Phasmophobia or potentially Carrion, but I'm going to go with maybe 60% Phasmophobia and 40% Carrion. Best esports athlete. I'm going to have to skip these ones. I don't know anything about them. Best esports coach. Again, I don't know anything about them. Best esports event. I was going to see if Evo or anything was there, but I don't know any of these either, especially now that they're all online too. Best esports game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Fortnite, League of Legends, or Valorant. I'm going to have to assume, I haven't played any of these games, but I would have to assume League of Legends is probably going to win this because Call of Duty comes and goes every year. Counter-Strike Global Offensive is still there after, 10 years now, something like that. Fortnite, you very infrequently hear about, and I can't even remember the last time I've heard about Valorant in its esports capacity. League of Legends is what I think will win this because it's just it's the staple. It's the staple. I mean, I guess you could say that about Counter-Strike as well, but Yeah, League of Legends is best esports host. I don't know any of these here, but from what I'm looking at, no, you know what? I can't even comment on it. And best esports team, I also can't comment on because no, you know what? I'm gonna pick an esports team just based on their name. We've got Damwon Gaming. It's probably Korean based on the name. Dallas Empire, G2 Esports, San Francisco Shock, or Team Secret. You know, I like the name San Francisco Shock. So that's it. I'm voting for them. I'm voting for them. I think they should win this. But that's it. That is it for we have our little Game Awards 2020. Uh, enjoy your Last of Us Part 2 awards, Mr. Doritos Gate. But yeah, that's all it is. I can't take any of these seriously. This is all just a laugh, simply because gaming industry and the games journalists and all these people and all who put this together, especially Jeff Keighley in particular, they're all an absolute joke. None of them should be taken seriously, and just fuck them all.